Now, prices in many cities in Europe have become unaffordable when it comes to real estate. Paris is one such example where many people are leaving the city simply because prices are so high. But it's not just Paris. London has become incredibly unaffordable for locals, and we are starting to see in real terms some quite heavy price drops. And price to income ratio in both these cities, Paris and London, is amongst the highest in Europe. But not just in these two main cities, Munich as well, and other cities in Germany have become unaffordable for locals, but Munich in particular. But they're not in my top 5 most overvalued real estate in Europe. My 5 are the following, and coming in at number 5 is the city of Lisbon. Now, it pains me to say this, as Lisbon is one of my favorite cities, but Lisbon has become very expensive, in particular for locals. On average, prices are over 5,000 euros per square meter, and in the historic centre, prices are on average over 7,000 euros per square meter. Furthermore, the Portuguese golden visa is no longer valid here when it comes to buying residential real estate. And this is likely to mean that there will be more investment in other areas of Portugal where the golden visa is still valid. Two such examples are Madeira and the Azores. Now, Lisbon also does not compare favourably to its rival Porto either, as property prices in Porto are much cheaper than Lisbon, yet salaries are only a bit lower than Lisbon. There have been some restrictions too on allowing new short-term rentals, in particular in popular districts. Again, not another good factor for the real estate market. But for me, the clincher of putting Lisbon in the top 5 is that when it comes to price-income ratios, Lisbon has one of the highest in Europe, and hence local affordability is very stretched indeed. And one other thing, gross yields are not very high in Lisbon. We are talking around 4% or just under. Now, if you think Lisbon is expensive, well, the next two I'm going to talk about are also very expensive. So Moscow and St. Petersburg come in at number 4, joint number 4. Moscow and in particular St. Petersburg are two beautiful cities, but prices have become unaffordable for locals. Both cities come in the bottom 5 in Europe when it comes to affordability. High prices have been sustained here by the government's mortgage subsidy program. Furthermore, gross yields in both cities are now low. In many parts of Moscow and St. Petersburg, gross yields are 3.5% or less, which is another indicator that the property market is overvalued here. Add to this that rental income tax is high if you're a non-resident, and the fact that realistically now from a number of countries you cannot buy property in Russia due to the conflict in the Ukraine. This will not help the property market in these cities either. Now, other factors affecting this market in the future are poor GDP growth in Russia, and real incomes in Russia have been falling. Between 2013 to 2020, Russian real incomes fell by 11%, and this obviously will make it even less affordable in the future. Now, on the plus side though, Russia's total government debt to GDP is very low, as is unemployment, and although in general population is falling in Russia, this is not the case in either Moscow or St. Petersburg. Now, coming in at number 3 is Vienna. Vienna is a beautiful city, but property is incredibly expensive. Outside of District 1, prices vary from about 5,000 to 10,000 euros per square meter. In District 1, prices are at ludicrous levels, on average around 17,000 euros per square meter, but prices can actually reach up to 35,000 euros per square meter, for example for a penthouse. And gross yields in Vienna are terrible at an average of 2.5%. And in District 1, yields can be actually below 2% gross. Now, when it comes to price-income ratio, although it is not as bad as Lisbon or Moscow or St. Petersburg, it is still amongst the worst in Western Europe. And what makes Vienna worse than cities like Lisbon, Moscow and St. Petersburg is the fact that it is a very pro-tenant market with up to 60% of people living in social housing. Now, taxes are very high in Austria, with capital gains tax at a rate of 30%. Rental income tax is also very high, especially if you receive a lot of rent. And Airbnb is also quite strictly regulated in Vienna. Austria too has also been going through a period of low growth, and debt levels are fairly high in Austria as well. Now, there are, however, some advantages, in particular population growth in Vienna. Vienna too has excellent infrastructure and wages are very high. And one other thing I want to say about Vienna, it is also in a very strategic position, so you can get to many other European capitals quite quickly. Now, coming in at number 2, another beautiful city, it's the city of Prague. Now, Prague has long been a popular place for foreign buyers, but prices are now very high. All indicators suggest that this could be a market due for a correction. In Josefov, prices are over 8,000 euros per square meter on average. And if we take other areas of Prague, Stare Mesto and Nove Mesto, so the old and new town, prices are over 6,000 euros per square meter on average. Indeed, it's actually becoming difficult in many areas of Prague to find property at less than 4,000 euros per square meter. In the first quarter of 2022, the average cost of new apartments in the Czech Republic capital increased by nearly 30% year on year. And when it comes to affordability index, Prague is one of the worst cities in Europe. Now, gross yields in Prague are also very low at around an average of 2.5%, which is yet another indicator that the market is overheating. Now, it has been traditionally quite hard to get a license to build apartments in Prague, but with this starting to ease, more supply will come onto the market in the future, which may also drive down prices. Now, I don't want to be too negative about Prague. There are some advantages, including population growth. Taxes are low in the Czech Republic, as are buy-sell costs. Now, the Czech Republic also has low debt. And one other important thing, in the Czech Republic, it is actually more pro-tenant than many other countries in Europe. But that said, prices here are really, really high. Now, coming in at position number 1 is another beautiful city, and it is Dubrovnik. Property prices in Dubrovnik are crazy, in particular when compared to local salaries. In fact, when it comes to price-income ratio, Dubrovnik is the least affordable city to buy property in Europe, so terrible for locals. In the old town, property can easily cost 7 to 10,000 euros per square meter, and even outside the old town, in the city centre, property goes for well over 4,000 euros per square meter. Average net salaries in Dubrovnik are under 1,000 euros a month. Now, there are definitely better places to buy real estate in Croatia, namely Pula and Rijeka, where property prices are a lot lower. And rental yields in Dubrovnik are very poor, at around 2% gross. In the city centre and outside the city centre, you really will be lucky even to get 2.5% gross. Now, I also want to add Dubrovnik is also a mature market and is already being challenged by places like Tivat and Budva in Montenegro, where it is more tax friendly and easier to buy if you are from a non-EU EEA country. It is also much cheaper, and many consider the Montenegro coast as beautiful as the Croatian coast. And as I've said, taxes are very complicated in Croatia compared to most European countries. Croatia also has a high total government debt to GDP ratio, in particular for a country in Eastern Europe. And let's just briefly look at population. So the population of Dubrovnik is actually going down. In 2001, it was 43,770. In 2011, 42,615. And the latest figure of 2021, 41,671, which is also another bad indicator for the property market. So I've given you my 5 most overvalued real estates in Europe. But what are yours? Do you agree with this? Would you have put other cities in the top 5? I certainly think that many other cities could have made this list, but I'm going to stick with these 5. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks ever so much for watching this video, and I shall see you soon on the next.